And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The move.
You might not be an A, but you are a B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? 'Cause we're steady on the ground, steady on the ground.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen out there in the B Plus land. It's Mr. Mysterious here, back once again, and welcome to not all the rest. Welcome to the Major League Report. We've got a little bit of a shake-up, if you guys haven't been paying attention to our website for the past week or so, where we've got a new flagship show. We're going to be covering a bit of everything. It's a bit like all the rest, and it's just covering a little bit more in-depth of WWE, AEW, some other New Japan news if there's any, and of course, like maybe a bit of reviews of the Australian scene. So if you want to look at our debut show, I suggest you go look into the archives to check out our debut flagship show. We recorded for a good couple hours. We got our new colleague Ben. It was a great time. You should go check it out. But that being said, that means that all the rest is no more, alas. But what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to still be talking about Major League Wrestling. I'm going to have this little segment here devoted entirely to Major League Wrestling. So I can still keep talking about everything that goes on there because it's an amazing promotion. Everyone needs to check it out. It's getting bigger and better every single time. And it's just a nice, easy watch. Like, how often can you say that about a certain show? Like, there's a lot of them that have a lot of ebbs and flows, and like MLW as well. But in terms of like consistency and just entertainment value and the talent, I think Major League Wrestling is going to be one of the top promotions in the world in the next couple of years. And that's saying something considering AEW is starting up, and you've still got WWE, and you've still got Impact, Ring of Honor, like New Japan. You've got a lot of promotions out there. The landscape is always shifting and changing. So we had the latest episode of MLW, episode 73, main evented by the rematch between Filthy Tom Lawler and the Contrary Unit Samoan, not Werewolf. They're changing his nickname now to the Smashing Machine. Don't think I like it too much, but nevertheless, the Samoan Smashing Machine, Jacob Fatu, the MLW World Champion. Now, we kicked this episode off. We had a bit of a recap of the previous episode. They had advertised a match between Pillman Jr. and Richard Holiday, but I'm pretty sure now that's going to be aired next week. There's a bit of a confusion there, but that's okay. I can let that slide. So after usual hype package, we had a big opening match, 6-man tag, Koto Brazil, Myron Reed, and Jordan Oliver, what I called the Justice League, have now just called Injustice. So I was kind of half right where they're going to go with this. The Injustice League. I'm going to combine the two. So the Injustice League face off against Gringo Loco, Airwolf, and Zenshi, right? Now, this trio's bout had everything. And now you have your usual high-flying moments in MLW. Like, there's always a Lucha Libre match in there somewhere with a lot of luchadors, or you'll have people that focus a lot on that high-flying moveset to open the show, to give it a little bit of energy, bit of spice, or it's going to open up with a big hardcore match. Like MLW do that, Impact Wrestling do that. Not knocking it, but I'm just saying, this was a big step beyond anything they usually do, because the MVP of this entire like freaking match, Zenshi. Holy shit, this kid is amazing. He's doing things that I have never seen before. His nickname is the Aerial Artist. And trust me when I say, he's definitely the Aerial Artist. He did a corkscrew senton, right? Knocked off both of the other members of the Injustice League who weren't tagged in with both his feet. He's the amount of dives, like not just from them, like not just from Zenshi and like from his team, but also the Injustice League. So the amount of dives, some theatrical cutters, because there's a lot of them, because Myron Reed, he has a beautiful theatrical cutter. And just the other high-flying maneuvers here were just executed to perfection. Like these, like my favorite, of course, so you had the little nifty corkscrew senton, which he didn't do just once. He did it a few freaking times. So if you thought that Zenchi, like, oh no, that's just a one-off thing, like the guy was going everywhere. It's amazing, right? You had Zenchi, he had Myron Reed in a fireman's carry position, while Kota Brazil was down flat on the mat. Gringo Loco used Reed's body as a stepping stone when he jumped off the turnbuckle for a double stomp onto Reed to launch into a swanton down on Brazil. Like, these guys flew everywhere, right? And these are a lot of young up and coming guys. They always like mention that Airwolf is like 19 years old. I'm pretty sure Zenchi's like a younger guy as well. Gringo Loco's like, you wouldn't think it, but he's just very, very nimble for a guy his size. And you had stuff like Airwolf hit a bridging German suplex, but Brazil flew for a splash onto the bridged Airwolf. It was very interesting. Now, I've got to talk about the Injustice League, right? So this whole story started with, like, the refs are out to get us. Like, the officials are corrupt. Like, really, you guys are all to blame. And now it's just devolved into, like, now we're just everything that you thought we are. Where, like, they were thinking everyone is out to get them. Everyone thinks that we're cheating, but we're not. And they're just, like, blaming the rest for their losses. Now they're just, like, in defiance. They're just like, okay, we're going to do everything that you think we're doing, even though no one was thinking that. But so it's kind of morphed into just a standard 6-man tag without Rich Swann. So Rich Swann, I feel like he's buggered off out of MLW, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. Koto Brazil is a nice replacement because they weren't doing really anything with him. At the moment, he just had the eye patch. That was his character, just an eye patch. But the fact that it's morphed, like, it's the message isn't that clear now. Like, there's just they're the basic heel squad now, but they are very charismatic. They've got a lot of young stars. Jordan Oliver is like 20. You've got, like, they could, like, match and top some of the stuff that Gringo Loco and Airwolf did. Zenchi's still again the MVP of that entire match. So I'm actually okay with this. So I'd rather that they switch tactics and change now than, like, kind of keep going with whatever story they had for the Injustice League. I think because Rich Swann left, they had to change their game up and just realize, like, no one understands what's going on here. So we just need to keep it simple. And we have a 6-man tag. We got the Injustice League here. That's all you can hope for. And I'm kind of glad. We're kind of simplifying it, and I appreciate that. But we're talking about simplifying stuff in a second. We had brass knuckles played during a role in this match, so Jordan Oliver distracted the referee, Doug Markham, so Myron Reed could pull some brass knuckles out of his trunks. The Knucks could not be used at that moment because the good guys were just dead laser focused, right? Like, Gringo had Reed up in a fireman's carry position. Reed's feet hit the ref's head and knocked him out, so that allowed for the brass knuckles to come into play. Right, and Gringo got a hold of the brass knuckles, and he just went to town on Myron Reed's ribs. He just beat the shit. And I thought it was going to be like the referee wakes up while Gringo Loco is just pounding the shit out of Myron Reed. But I got lost in the confusion of who was the legal man. So Gringo lost the knuckles in a little bit of a skirmish with Brazil. In the end, you had Jordan Oliver nailed Airwolf with his, like, high flying stunner. Like, it's like assisted in the corner. I don't know how to describe it. So Oliver nailed Airwolf, who was the legal man. Brazil followed it up with the sliced bread. They both were on top of Airwolf. 1, 2, 3, the Injustice League, or Injustice, however, what do you want to call them? They won the match, right? I'm glad. Like, now these guys have some momentum behind them. We had a really murky beginning, a murky origin story, but you know what? Like, I welcome factions in MLW because I want more and more people to get an opportunity. And that's why there's a lot of stables and a lot of other, like, little teams around there that just, when they're used, they're going to make sure that they make most of their time. After the match, you had Markham and Reed were arguing about something. Brazil came over and, like, he just attacked the referee for no reason, right? The Injustice trio, they attacked Markham, and Oliver stole his shoe. I don't understand that act, but there you go, just taking everything from them essentially. We had a lot of news packages in the MLW Roundup. One vital piece of information is that the War Chamber match will be shown on September 14th edition of MLW Fusion, so that's next week at the time of recording. And that should air a couple days later, if I'm doing my maths right. We had a segment with the Von Erichs. So you had Rosh and Marshall Von Erich. They were joined by their old pappy, Kevin. They're talking about what being a Von Erich means. They're all about family and brotherhood and family. They talk about as much as Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious. It's all about family, But they're saying that they won't back down from Contra in the War Chamber. They fight for what's right. They defend the defenseless and defeat the undefeated. Just your standard babyface promo. Because they're like the good old boys of MLW right now, you let it slide. It's fine. It's entertaining. We have an episode of the Lifestyles of the Rich and Dynastic now. Bit confused by this, but I'm going to break it down. Alexander Hammerstone pumps some weights in the gym like an absolute machine. He doesn't understand why people get upset when MJF says we're better than you and you know it. Well, because MJF is just like a mega heel, but that's all right. Hammerstone's breaking it down, and he's saying that he might have been handsome, smart, and stunning when he came out of the womb, but he wasn't built like a meat castle. He trained to be that way. He's came this way through good hard work. That's why he's better than all of you. And he's talking about his openweight championship, about giving Davey Boy a rematch, right? And Smith should be concerned about getting his butt back in the gym. So he's saying, you're a small man compared to me and all this stuff, right? And Hammerstone's trying to say all this shit, but he's losing concentration because who would be there training next to him? Georgia Smith, Davey Boy's sister, right? Now, this has been alluded to where they were making out in an elevator last month. The Dynasty didn't believe it, right? You had Davey Boy furious that Georgia would have a relationship with the enemy, They had that weird promo just like, I won't go as I don't want to meet your boyfriend for dinner or some shit when he's talking about Hammerstone, right? And they've kind of dropped it where the past few episodes of H2TV, she's been in the background, with the Heart Foundation, and now she's in the background here for the Lifestyles of the Rich and Dynastic. It's just, they were gonna go for drama, but now they've just dropped it. And now they're just doing an ordinary relationship. An ordinary relationship was meant to be a building, heated feud between the Heart Foundation and the Dynasty they've been doing it for months, and it's meant to be culminating to this big blowout match. And you've just got an ordinary relationship in there with Georgia and Hammerstone. It kind of takes the wind out of it. No, I don't want relationship drama, but the fact that they started it and now stopped, you need to clarify that. You need to be at some point, Georgia Smith has to pick a side. Is she going to go family or is she going to go for love? And it sounds stupid that I'm saying this when it comes to Major League Wrestling, because they are very sports-centric, not sports entertainment, sports-centric promotion. And the fact that I'm talking about this is not a good thing. I don't like it. But in terms of Georgia Smith, she's just laughing at Hammerstone. So despite the amount of weights he was lifting and everything else, she's saying me and Davey used to lift those when we were kids, And he's just like, you know what? Fine. I'll just put more weights in there. And he's just he's struggling. He's just all those lovely grunts and stuff. And you had freaking Richard Holiday. He had his earphones in. He was in that gym segment as well. Surely he could have looked right next to him to see that Georgia Smith was there. What does MJF and Holiday think that he is dating Georgia? There's got to be some kind of if Davey Boy isn't going to have a reaction, you have to think that MJF is. Right? That MJF and Holiday are just why are you degrading yourself with the Heart Foundation filth? Right? You need something there. And right now it's not happening. So what we have right now, I don't know, but we need to sort it out very, very soon.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B Plus podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout.
Main event time, ladies and gentlemen. We have the World Heavyweight Championship match between Jacob Fatu and Tom Lawler. The rematch, right? Your main event in the evening. Very, very surprising. We usually have about three or four matches if we're lucky in a episode of MLW, but we just got 2, right? And I'm very glad. So they gave these guys a lot of time to just go for it. There was a big pre-show promo from Tom Lawler, right? They had the Mars, I forget the abbreviation, but they had the stats of both men, and they even said, like, Tom Lawler, he's on the offense like 15% of the time, his strikes land like a certain percent of the time. Like, just the tail of the tape. They're just really diving into all these specifics with Major League Wrestling, and I love it. Like, when Fatu's on the offensive 88% of the first match, right? And they're saying Lawler's strikes landed less than 14.5. Very, very interesting. So they're kind of saying that Lawler needs to just barrage at Fatu just to slow him down. So before we get into the match, Joseph Samael does the introductions. Now this is what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted, right? Samael is like the manager of Fatu. Like, you have Gotch and now Ikara Kwan, they're the underlings. Like, they don't matter. But you have Samael introducing Fatu, and he's just reveling, and he's just being the maniacal madman who makes fireballs. He's a maniacal madman who makes fireballs. Can you stand out any more than that? Right? Crazy shit. But yeah, Samael had a simple message for the filthy cretins in attendance for the MLW show. Every league has a world champion. Whoever holds the championship controls the league, right? And like, only in wrestling do you have all this stuff. Like, Samael's got his pointy boots on. He looks like a freaking elf still. I'll let it slide, but he's going insane with it. Like, oh hell, Contra, right? At the moment that Fatu is being introduced to the ring, it's kind of like with Umaga. You have like Fatu's uncle, the now deceased Umaga, how it was Armando Alejandro Estrada, just the way he would introduce. But you have Samael, who's a lot more unhinged than Armando Estrada, right? And I love that about him, right? So we're getting into the match, right? Lawler and Fatu wasted no time throwing blows. Lawler sees the momentum with the flying crossbody. A lot more like offense than we usually see from Tom Lawler. Like he's pulling out everything, all the unconventional things in his arsenal, rather than relying on his moveset as an MMA fighter. I love that in this match. It's so much more of a back and forth match than when Lawler lost the title. It looks far greater, far better. Right? He's doing corner strikes, overhead suplex, flipping Fatu head over heels. Right? He tried to go for the pin a few times, like for an upset victory, but nah, you can't put away Fatu that easily. Right? A lot of crossbodies, I should be fair. But when he did a high flying one, Fatu caught him for his Samoan drop, his textbook Samoan drop. After the next 5 minutes, you saw Lawler targeting Fatu's ribs and midsection, trying to stop that power game. Right? He did have one big kind of flurry, but once you had Fatu do a super kick and his hamstring moonsault, yeah, you could see where the direction was going, as if you didn't know already. But right, these guys fighting back and forth. Right, there was a suicide dive, running body smash by Lawler, stepping off a chair. Right, airplane spin, Death Valley driver that he did to Fatu. It was beautifully done. Like Lawler has really evolved as a professional wrestler in the last few months, like a lot more so. I think weirdly, since he's lost the title, he's actually wrestling far better. I don't know why. It's just he seems like he's in a lot more unhinged and more focused state of mind that's not fighting style, not fighting based. Like he's actually thinking of more of his technique in like holds and not relying on just his history, which is not a bad thing. You know, I'm not saying that he needs to stop mixing those elements, because those two marry together very, very well. But I'm saying that it's working a lot better, that he's showing a lot more versatility, and I love that about him. So you had Lawler, he wore himself out. He was punching, kicking, kneeing everything he could, right? Like Lawler, he did a huge German suplex and an exploder suplex. Like he's tried everything, right? He had a chance, but he made a mistake. So Samael hopped onto the apron to do a distraction, right? Lawler lost focus for 1 second, and then, right, then you had Samael come up with the spike, the railroad spike, clocked him in the back of the head, allowed for Fatu to do his BME, his springboard moonsault, to his back. 1, 2, 3, still your heavyweight champion, the Samoan smashing machine, Jacob Fatu, right? After the match, though, I'm very excited for this. After the match, Contra Unit just start going to town on Lawler, who gratefully doesn't fight back because he just got stabbed in the back of the bloody head. Very smart there. Simon Gotch came out to do some more punishment. Of course, the Von Erich brothers, your good old boys, they came out to make the save. Then you had Ikaro Kwan, so it became 4-on-3. And we've been talking about the 4-on-3 advantage. Who's the mystery fourth partner, right? Who can come in? The professional. Low key. I bloody called it. For months, I have been calling this shit, and I feel so validated. Oh my god. I just saw the direction, just like, wouldn't it be cool if Loki he's been having those knockout victories for months, and now he's ready to fight the champion. And I wish it lasted longer, their whole brawl, because Loki makes the save, and just straight away, he's like, eeny, meeny, miny, big man, and just dives after Fatu, and he whacks him in the head. So this is like a little tidbit, but this should be a big point, because you have the whole thing about Samoans with their heads, right? Don't headbutt a Samoan in wrestling. You just don't do it. But they connected head first, and Fatu just went, like, he fell backwards onto the other side of the ring, right? Loki just launched himself at Fatu, nailed him in the head, and he just went flying. That tells you how much of a challenge Loki is. He can't compete for the world title anymore, because he's not in the weight league, even though it was never the weight league when he was champion. I digress. But you can tell, like, in the war chamber that they're going to have, it's going to be the professional versus the Smash Machine, and you would think Fatu has the advantage. You would think that. But man, I'm waiting to see Loki chop down this boy like an oak tree. I am so excited. Again, I am so validated. I'm glad we didn't announce it before, right? Where you can have like, oh, how will Tom Lawler and Loki team together, you know? Like there's a history there, but we can find that out in the ring, in the match. Cannot wait. We ended this episode of MLW, all 8 men brawling as the show went off the air. They knew how to make this night feel special. They knew how to make just 2 matches, very select promos, all pertaining to what's going on now. Right? We didn't have anything with Promociones Dorado, which I'm glad. Like even though I love Selena and Promociones, I'm glad that they kind of left that to the side, so we kind of forget about them. Just for now, I'm glad we're not talking about that bloody revenge porn storyline. We'll not get into that right now. But it's very fascinating, just like they did everything right in this build-up match to the War Chamber, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. So at the time of recording, they're getting ready for their War Chamber event, main evented by the War Chamber match. So I'm going to break it down. We're going to be seeing these throughout the next few weeks of how these matches play out. So September 7th, North Richlands Hall, the Nitec Sports Center. You're going to see, first off, they announced, I talked last week, Dominic Guarini is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. I think he's a former Olympian. The guy is an absolute killer, right? And he's facing off against Ariel Dominguez. Notably, pretty much a jobber in Major League, but they've been really bigging him up on the socials, right? So you have the obvious size disadvantage to Dominguez, but they're really trying to hype up Dominguez as just like, no, he's an absolute killer. And like Loki's been training him, so he has a very strong foundation, and he has a fighting history as well. Do I think he's going to win? No, but I think this might be the start of them really giving Dominguez a shot at something, right? We could maybe see him compete for the open weight title at some point. Like, I think this is going to be the beginning of the rise of Dominguez, and I think it's a long overdue because the dude is tiny as, but his foundation is fantastic. So Guarini, Dominguez, can't wait. My money's on Guarini because of the obvious reasons. But yet they're saying that Ace Austin, he's going to have an open challenge during this night. We don't know who he's going to face. Obviously, anyone in the middleweight division would be a great match to see. I'm trying to think who he hasn't faced. Honestly, I'll mull on that. I'll come back to that in a second. We've got the Spirit Squad coming back. Yay. They're a bunch of bloody dorks. They 12 years on from like their mainstay on Raw and WWE, they're still a bunch of dorks. We have Gringo Loco and Airwolf. They're going to face Koto Brazil and Myron Reed. So we're still going to get that 6-man tag. We're going to break it down a little bit more. And you're going to have Zenchi versus Jordan Oliver in singles action. So the highlights from both the other teams. So from Injustice, Jordan Oliver, and from the 6-man tag before Zenchi, the aerial artist, which I'm going to keep calling because the dude, oh, so good. So good. He has a future in Major League Wrestling. I would love to see him. Like, maybe him and Airwolf could become tag team champions, right? Start him off small, get him to the middleweight division. The dude could absolutely kill it. I cannot wait to see it. We've got, I nearly forgot about this, Timothy Thatcher, the former Evolve champion, versus Douglas James, former fighter. Oh, those two boys are going to kill each other. It's going to be a technical classic, much like Davey Boy and Thatcher, but Douglas James, I think he's a little bit smaller than Thatcher, or about the same height, so I can see a lot more brawling than a lot more technical wrestling, but I can see a lot of catch as catch can. I can see some fantastic ring psychology just from those two. Oh, can't wait. Fantastic news. We have Los Parks, LA Park, and El Hijo de LA Park versus Magnus and Septimo Dragon. Always a budding partnership that MLW has with, they've got the Crash, the collaboration now. Like, they've partnered with Pro Wrestling Noah, right? They're just crushing it right now. And I think what we need right now, we need Lost Parks to win, to remind everybody that they are a big threat and that LA Park has the money in the bank briefcase, essentially the golden ticket from the Battle Riot win. So I want people to forget, and I want him to just, it could happen after War Chamber, right? After Low Key battles, like, breaks down Fatu, LA Park picks up the scraps, wins the world title, and Low Key can continue his feud with Promociones. Like, and again, Low Key can't defend for the belt anymore. He can't compete for the belt anymore. He has to fight for the middleweight title. Yeah, I love it. Love it. If that's the way they got it, that's just fantasy booking, but we'll see what happens. We have the bunkhouse match between old Mansa, the Lariats and Light Beers, drinking, fun-loving old Mansa with the chainsaw, versus Jimmy Havoc, presented by Selena De La Renta. So, his second, I'm guessing, Cracker Barrel type match. I think there's gonna be an homage in there somewhere. There's gonna be some kind of barrel, right? There's gonna be some kind of weird spot. Mance Warner might bring out the chainsaw and cut the barrel in half. I don't know. Like, these guys, they're both hardcore specialists. They're going to essentially kill each other. Now, I've been talking about this. Jimmy Havoc needs a big blowout hardcore match to send him off to AEW, right? We've got a few weeks before the TNT show starts. They might be saving this episode for before he goes off. And, like, I thought it would happen with LA Park. That would be the send-off match. But I'm hoping that I just want Jimmy Havoc to end on a high. And he doesn't have to win necessarily. You give Mance Warner the win, right? But I want to see them have a great hardcore match. I can imagine doors. Jimmy Havoc will have his staple gun. I just want to see them go crazy, because if you've seen All Out, where Havoc faced Darby Allin and Joey Janela, it's so hard to describe. You need to see it for yourself. We have Austin Aries face off against Brian Pillman Jr. He's on the war hunt for Teddy. So I think Aries is going to pick up the win here, and he's going to be the next guy to take Teddy's middleweight title. He's going to be the next guy. That you need someone like Austin Aries to be your champion, right? He's had gold everywhere he's gone, essentially. And honestly, like, who better to take away Teddy Hart's gold? Who better, right? Like, they could have that story go on for a little while, and I can't wait. We have the 2 out of 3 falls match for the World Tag Team Championship, the Dynasty versus the Hart Foundation. I'm hoping that we resolve this on a high. Like, time-wise, they should give it to the Hart Foundation, unless they want to do some really screwy, weird finish before the Dynasty have to leave. I don't know how they're going to swing it, but I want Georgia Smith to be involved in this. I want that storyline to kind of make sense, and I want that to just hopefully be the catalyst, right? That Hammerstone was the reason that MJF left. Something like that to explain why he's leaving, and not just like, I joined the Elite, I've found a better promotion, some shit like that. I don't want to see that. And finally, of course, the War Chamber match, the Contra unit versus the Von Erichs, Tom Lawler, and Low Key. Man, Low Key, now that I finally know what's going to happen, these guys are going to tear it up, they're going to crush it. I think it's really going to go down to Low Key versus Fatu. I think that's going to be the final. Those two are going to be the final members for their team, right? I can see Gotch and Quan, they can get eliminated pretty quickly. If you're talking about the numbers advantage, I reckon the Von Erichs are going to get eliminated. Like, they're going to be eliminated first. Then you got Lawler next, and I think Low Key is going to be the last person standing. unless they want to do some shit where Law and Loki can't get along, in which case Contra picks up the win. I'd rather them work together as a team. I think they can work great. I'm really gunning for this, and you guys should too. As for other news in MLW, that's pretty much it. I mean, they're really banking on a lot with this episode of MLW, and of course they're going to have a tribute soon to the late Gary Hart, of course, from the original iteration of Major League Wrestling. They're going to have a big thing there. Of course, he used to be the manager for Low Ki, for Homicide. Guy with so much history in the world of professional wrestling. You got next week's episode, you're going to have Go Shiozaki versus Alexander Hammerstone from Nagoya, right? And that's that whole Pro Wrestling Noah collaboration there. I'm so excited. So Go Shiozaki, 3-time GHC heavyweight champion, right? Hammerstone's been crushing it over in Noah in that tournament, the N1 Victory tournament, I believe it is. Yeah, two of the top-ranked guys from Noah and MLW going to collide next week. You're going to have not Hammerstone. You're going to have Holiday versus Pillman. That match is going to happen. It's all looking great for the world of Major League Wrestling. So after War Chamber, they're going to focus more on Saturday Night Super Fight, November 2nd. And then December 5th, we got their Opera Cup coming soon. Can't wait to see them bring that back. And that was all the time we have for today, ladies and gentlemen. If you've liked all this, make sure to let me know on the socials here. I'm at Mr. Mysterious with 107i, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Grapple. Hit me up. Let me know what you thought about the reveal, finally, that Low Ki is part of the War Chamber match and what you thought about this latest episode of Major League Wrestling. If you want to follow all of us here at the B Plus because we're a great group, don't lie, you know it's true. We are at the B Plus Wrestler on Twitter because wrestling wouldn't fit, and the B Plus Wrestling everywhere else. Remember, guys, our Patreon. Say it every time, mean it every time, gonna keep saying it every time. Any amount you could donate would be greatly, greatly appreciated, so we can keep giving you all what you want, when you want, showcasing the very best of Australian wrestling, and keeping you up to date on all the wrestling news from around the globe. Like, share, subscribe, hit that 5-star review. This has been the MLW Report with Mr. Mysterious, and I'll see you later.